model that we have after the agent is there's an initial build, helping sitting down with our customers and just helping them preempt future issues like, hey, the way you're transferring calls here might create an issue in this situation. So bringing that expertise to them so they can get a much better version of
Welcome to Insurance Shop Talk. This is the podcast where the world of commercial insurance gets a little closer to home. I'm your host, Eric Stein, and in every episode, we're taking a deep dive into the insurance industry. From the latest news and trends to in-depth interviews with InsurTech experts, carriers, and agency newsmakers, we're covering it all. So sit back, tune in, and let's start the conversation. All right, everybody. Today we have Francisco Lopez calling from beautiful sunny LA. Francisco, how are you?
I'm good, Eric. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Absolutely. He's with Sonnet AI. I'm excited to get Francisco on. I've run into him at some my mastermind meetings with Jason Cass and so on, and I know a little bit about what he's up to at Sonnet with using AI for voice at an agency, but didn't have time to really dig in. So it's going to be a huge kind of learning info for me too. But Francisco, again, thanks for coming in. I wanted to get you to go maybe to start out with a little bit about your background and kind of what made you start the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So my original background is actually not in insurance, it's in physics. So I used to do research. I thought I was going to spend my life in academia researching, astrophysics, black holes. Um, but the reason I got so excited about that was really, I always love to solve problems. And then, I realized that maybe astrophysics is going to be very long cycles. So I decided to, start the company at the time and then became a serial entrepreneur. And Sonant is effectively the third company I'm building. And when we started Sonant, really, my co-founders and I, Diogo and Ale, we knew that, we had we wanted to solve repetitive tasks, and we knew AI was going to be very big on that. And we started, we had a couple hypotheses, and one of our first clients was an insurance agent. And that's how we got really familiar with the space. And we just saw that it was such a space where we could add a lot of value, where, insurance agents, are supposed to, it's a super noble position where you are helping people understanding what are their risks and helping them their cover for their risks. So when, catastrophes happen, when bad things happen, insurance is there to help mitigate the damages, right? But we saw that insurance agencies were not necessarily spending that much time on that advising component and were being drawn into all those tasks that were taking them away from it. So we're like, okay, this is it. And we also saw excitement from our insurance agent clients that started asking us for more things, started really pulling us into the right into that direction. So that's really why we started. And then, the moment we knew, okay, we're gonna dedicate all our time to the insurance agency space, one of the things I went was to go get that insurance PNC license exam and just fully dive in. So that's how we got into the insurance world. And today, we work with some of the large insurance agencies, groups, different from small to top 100 groups, and that's all we live and breathe. It's insurance agencies.
No, that's awesome, man. So yeah, why don't you kind of walk through at a high level what Sonnet AI does with the voice assistant? How does it actually work? How are, agencies using it now to its fullest? Because I know things change. It seems like every 3 months there's some new huge leap, with the AI advancement. And I know we've all run into scenarios where we'll call American Express or whatever and hit an AI voice assistant. And some of it works really well, to be honest, like at CVS and some others, but like when it gets too broad of a it gets tough, it seems to work. And you just want to keep hitting zero to get the operator, right? So tell me like how you set this up for agencies and why it's different.
Yeah. Amex one is so bad. So we, at Sonant, we are a voice platform to enable insurance agents to handle all their, workflows around phone calls, right? And today we're really, what our product does is that is able to answer every call, intake information for quotes, servicing claims, searching the management systems in real time, and really triaging the calls into actionable requests for the team to tackle back into the agents managed system where teams are working from. And what it does for agencies is that, especially if you are personal lines heavy, small commercial heavy, where there's a lot of phone call, it frees up your staff from having to firefight phone calls. You start growing a book, you start having more servicing requests, more calls coming in. It solves that problem of firefighting phone calls to help agents, focus on building the relationships, advising, buying more policies ultimately, doing the things that really matter. Um, and today, like when there's a few core principles that guide us here to really be able to deliver good experiences and not the type of experience that you're talking about. And the first one is really being, super deep in insurance and specifically insurance agencies. And what that means is that on one end, it's not only the AI interaction, it's also how we know and have knowledge on how to deploy AI agents for voice for insurance agents and have processes around that and have built expertise that helps us understand, what's the best for an agency to have that deployment in a smooth way. The second key principle is, if it's an AI that is just, collecting information to then get a call back, that's essentially a glorified voicemail, right? So that's not helping much, and customers might be already frustrated with AI, so it's not helping them resolve their issues faster, right? Like it's just creating more works, it's creating more problems, it's going to create frustration. So for that, our core principle is really needs to be deeply integrated with the management systems. You really need to be deeply integrated with the systems, CRM, like that insurance agencies use, so we can be able to pull information in real time and also be able to triage the calls after. So we can actually, make an agency, operate like a machine, like a factory, right? Like help that. While at the same time, why do you want to operate with a factory? Because then you can build more relations. You can really focus on the relationship part and really excel at that. So that's where we the way we approach things and the way we've been solving that.
No, that's great. And so getting specific, when you call into the agency, I believe Jason didn't he name Jason Cass, he named uh, his IVR, like I'm your AI agent, Dorothy or something. But anyway, so the first thing I guess it operates more like a receptionist in the beginning, right, of the call. And then
Yeah.
if the client says, I want to speak to John Smith, it can transfer that to easily, you don't have to figure out a extension. That's the basics, right, for that part. And
Yeah.
then for more importantly, like if they have a claim or a question and so go walk through the options of what happens when a call comes through.
Yeah. So when a call comes through, right, like, you know, either they are a client, either they are a prospect looking for insurance, or they are a third party, or they are some random type spam call that you don't want to pick up, right?
Yeah.
The AI is later at kicking tires with the latter group. So spam calls, it's going to remove them, right? But really for the use case that matter, right? Like it identifies why is the person calling and can identify immediately based on the phone number if it's already a file on the management system, is already someone, one of our clients that we have a relationship with, right? And then even, sometimes your clients won't be calling from their phone number, right? So then you can add layers of verification, like, oh, are you a client of us? Okay, great. So let me help you find your policy. And then it can help you, can collect information, have an interaction, and okay, actually was able to find the policy based on the name. And then the AI is talking and has an immediate view of that person on the system, right? Or when a person calls in, if it's by the phone number, already knows that, right? So on that point, you have like it's just more capable than what a human can do because humans cannot pull access to the AMS instantly, right? That means that he could greet someone by their name, for example, or could know that they are Spanish speaking and start speaking in Spanish. But getting back to the call, figures out why the person is calling, right? Then there's a really like, hey, is this sales servicing claims like, and then can have like different interactions. But there's an interaction to collect some sort of information, right? Like why are you calling? What do you want to do? Like, okay, there's you want to add a vehicle. What's the new vehicle that you want to add? What's the policy that you want to add it, right? And then what Sonnet can really do is triaging, collecting that information, and then triaging to the right person. Let's say the way your agency is organized is that you have on your management system assigned CSRs to each person, or you have departments, right? Like based on those rules, after the call, we can send that information for the right team, the right person to just process that request. So you saved all this time on collecting the information, identifying who is the person, why they are calling, get that initial intake, and then making sure that that gets to the right team, right? And because of this, you're just operating more like a factory. And let me give you an example. One agency that works with us is doing exactly this, and they're actually having two options for when someone calls in. If someone calls into their agency, they have like really hard, a lot of calls come in. It's hard for them to fulfill all the calls. So they say, hey, if you want to give a chance to AI, press one and see if it can help you. Or just stay on the line and wait. And, people usually have to wait a couple of minutes. They start giving more chances to the AI. When what they saw was that their staff was able to complete 70 tasks a day. And now with Sonant, collecting this information up front, they're able to collect to handle 100 tasks per day, which means that with the same team size, they're now able to be 43% more productive, do 43% more with the same number of staff.
That's a good idea about giving the client a choice, about would you like to
Yeah.
try AI and asking if they would do it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
And then, so is this the data that's being collected, let's say on the new auto that's being added, is that being already put into the AMS, or is it being an email being created to go to the account manager? What's the normal model?
So we really give that option. So we have a very modular and deep post-call action framework. So after the call, you can choose based on conditions. For example, if it's a quote request, I wanted to book a calendar meeting, a meeting on the calendar with my sales team. Okay, we'll be able to do that and pull from the calendar to do it. Or I want to transfer to the sales inbox, or I want to create a prospect on agency Zoom, right? So you have like the interactions can be, you can create multiple actions on the system depending on what happens on the phone call.
Got you. So, but like I said, on the vehicle being added, does that go in the CRM? I mean, I'll go into the AMS, or will it be emailed to the account manager? Just out of curiosity. Hey, everybody, it's Eric. I just want to pop in for a quick announcement. Exciting news. I just launched my new book on Amazon. It's called The Blueprint: An Insurance Agency's Unconventional Rise to the Top. And it goes through a little bit about how I built the agency Insured Solutions since 2009 to today, and the blueprint in terms of how I actually did it with the tech stack, the offshore, nearshore talent, and digital marketing techniques that I use. So pick up a copy today on Amazon. Thanks, guys.
You can do, it depends on the process. Each
Either one.
agency has their own process, and we see both.
You can do both, basically.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
do both. Yeah.
Gotcha,
Or
gotcha.
either or. Yeah.
Now, what about, let's say, reporting a claim? Is that able to take claim intake?
Yeah, totally. So it can take the initial claim intake, right? And it can also flag, for example, let's say it's an urgent claim, house is on fire. If you want to have like some sort of, as an agency, some higher standard of care for those situations, we could flag those calls. And for example, we could send that to a specific email. Hey, there's a urgent claim here, like just alert basically. Another thing that it can do that I didn't mention on focusing on the intake use cases, but there's also the billing use case, right? Like billing questions, one of the most annoying questions that every agency has to deal with, and it really doesn't feel like you're adding any value, right? And even today, you go and there are agencies that collect credit card information with their phone on speaker on an officer, and then they note the credit card of a client on a paper, and then they go to the carrier to put it, right? So what we're able to do there is, when we find the policy, we can see if the policy is agency bill, if it's direct bill. If it's agency bill, we can text payment links. If it's direct bill, we can pass the call to the carrier. We can send also text a link for the carrier portal payment. Like just making sure that we take that workload from the staff at the agency so they can focus on what moves the needle.
Yes, that's definitely a lot of minutia that we're all having to deal with in our agencies, what you're describing. And then, um, and then are most agencies at the beginning kind of setting it up to like be reviewed? Let's say, a claim comes in before it is sent out, maybe it's reviewed by a CSR or someone first in the agency, and then they manually send it just to get comfortable with that.
Yeah, totally. We see agencies doing that because, if you are, reporting claims that are small, that might be more hurtful to your policy than if you just take the hit, right? So totally, we see agencies having that approach.
So at all points, you could always have the fallback to have a human review whatever it is, a
Yeah.
new vehicle, a claim, whatever. You can have a human, if you will, review and then finish off the process, at least the beginning of the process of having to speak to the client, gather the info, all that's been done.
Yeah, correct.
And then in terms of and you're saying because you are on the AMSs, are you with all the big boys like Applied,
Yeah.
Encore?
Yeah, all the major, AMS is, Applied Epic is the links, AMS 360, QQ Catalyst, Oxoff, Momentum. We have integrations with all of those.
And you're able to scan that information, as you said, to locate that client. Like I guess, like you said, if they're calling from a cell phone that we don't have, the name doesn't really match up to anything in the AMS. How does that work? Is it, if you're not matching up like you were sort of going there earlier, but I'm just curious, how do you, fix that issue, if you will?
So if the phone number is not matching, that's pretty common. It becomes and even if the phone number matches, you might want to add some verification to avoid spoofing, right? But if the phone number matches, sorry, if the phone number doesn't match, what we can do is search by name, or search the policy. So we can understand, okay, your name is Eric, what's your last name? Then it will search, and maybe there are multiple people with that name, so it can confirm, okay, so what's your address? And then it's basically just trying to understand which person in the file, which file is it matching the person that is talking to, and then based on that, then can have the conversation when it's fine. And that's a really hard problem to solve, right? Like we're talking about searching an AMS with APIs during a live phone call. It's not trivial, right? And that's why I think like going back to that first principle, like really being focused on insurance agencies and the interactions and these type of integrations is what really, helps become the most reliable, trusted, and credible partner for insurance agencies on deploying voice.
How about security? Like, what are your thoughts around that? Making sure that you are tied to that AMS, there's no leak or security issues.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, that's very important concern, right? Like, and that's also another factor of working in this industry. Like, having those security principles in mind is very important. So, that's why I was mentioning the verification, right? Like you want to verify. Um, and if you're asking date of birth and zip code, you're verifying two fields, right? Like you already like doing standard, right? So you're not doing less than what someone on the phone is, right? And then it comes down to really having, the right security protocols. And on that, we are SOC 2 Type 2 compliance, which means that we're audited every year by a third-party auditor, and it's the same standards that enterprise software companies require from their customers to from their vendors to operate, like Fortune 500 companies, for example.
And I'm sure you built your own, you've customized this for yourself. But is your backbone OpenAI or Claude, or how does that, or you developed your own AI model? Like, how does that work?
So unlike a lot of companies that are focused on insurance agencies, we really have a strong, like an actual technical team in house and super strong team. Um, I'm one of the founders and the CEO, but then we have two other founders, Diogo and Ale, that are both technical founders. Ale is the CTO, Diogo is the Chief AI Officer. So, and then we have obviously engineers in house and everything, but we have a strong technical biased in founding team, which gives us that capability. And that means that, all the platform for voice, you know, that we productize, right? It's our own platform, and the orchestration of the voice, the orchestration of the different models is something that we do in house. So, in terms of what models we use, that's really always changing. And then on a single voice call, we might use different sorts of models, um, because there's an orchestration of that is happening on the background of it's not just one single model, right? There are different components, and there's even parts that are deterministic, that are not necessarily an AI LLM that can is stochastic by nature, right? Like that can generate any type of and unpredictable, right? Like so. That's the something that's for us we have that ability, and that also allows agencies to always benefit from what's best out there.
Makes sense. Like, what's the implementation time frame like and process like for an agency, to get onboarded?
Yeah. So we worked a lot on that onboarding process, and we have it now to a point that there's a step by step that you have to go through, um, and that's where we really know we really help you get to success. And one of the without going into too much detail in terms of timeline, it can be as fast as a week, typically 2, 3 weeks to get it live. Depends on how much you want to test. And then one of the key priorities for us as well is to decrease that time to value, be even faster, so that agents can deploy it very fast and benefit from all the expertise on insurance that we bring. And then we just to without going in much detail in the actual onboarding process, a key part of it, for example, is one phone call that we have after the agent is initial, there's an initial build, helping sitting down with our customers and just helping them preempt future issues. Like, hey, the way you're transferring calls here might create an issue in this situation. So bringing that expertise to them so they can get a, much better version of the
And,
the
and is
agent.
it kind of a slower rollout, like maybe the easy things first, like just getting a regular auto attendant sort of set, right?
Yeah.
Is it kind of go in phases like that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a lot of agencies will start first with implementing or will want to start first with implementing after hours, um, which is great because it's low risk, right? Like it's after hours, but it's also like, it's limited in value versus having it full time. Um, and if you want to have it full time, because it can be better if you have confidence on it to go straight to full time, because those are different interactions and you're gonna have much more feedback if you are using it to take all the calls and it can integrate. That's the slowest start position we do. Then also another way is like, hey, I'm going to start collecting some information on quotes, and then I start collecting more information on quotes as I get more comfortable. I just do more of the intake, and people keep tweaking. I was just referring to that original like first deployment timeline.
Okay. And then like from a on a sales perspective, let's say it's someone wants a a workers' compensation quote that's determined in the very front end of the call and need to speak to someone in sales, um, how far do you recommend that should go? Because it's not like an auto or a homeowner's quote, right? A little more intense of an interview with the client. Is that a use case right now for workers' comp, or I'm assuming not packaged because you can't really start that application easily, right? What do you recommend there on package work comp, versus personal lines?
Yeah. Obviously, personal lines is, as you said, is simpler,
Yeah,
right? And one thing we see some customers doing, and that's we find very interesting, is kind of reversing it. Instead of having the AI first on the intake, they'll have the person first. There's some relationship building, and then the person, the producer will say, "Hey, I have this AI to do the intake. Can I just connect you with it?" And then you have clients opting in. We speak with AI. You can also explain, hey, collecting information, doing your intake with an AI is going to be much faster for you than doing it over the phone with me because I need to be taking notes. So calls are almost like 50, half of the duration. And then it's also going to be much better than, writing a form and then I have to call you because some information was missed. And then we have like this back and forth of, just trying to figure out the intake. So they pass it to the AI and then I can have the conversation. And at that point, it's really more comfortable to add like more questions and you can go through that.
got it. Okay, no, that sounds good. Yeah, I definitely start that relationship first, then transfer it. So on that note, then you've got the AI tool set up to complete, let's say, for workers' comp, like an Accord 130 app with the client, like their name, address, FEIN, job description.
Yeah, we can collect that information.
And will it actually complete an Accord 130 form, or will it put it in the AMS or on email? How
So
does that
so
work?
we'll put that information on email or we'll put that information today on the AMS, right? Or on the CRM, book creating a prospect. Accords are something, filling forms is something that's definitely on our mind as well.
Okay. So that's coming kind of next gen
Yeah.
form fill. Okay. And what about on certificates of insurance though, for let's say workers' comp? Is that something that is being done now, or is that a next generation?
That's also something we're working on because it's all the ability to be able to handle things end to end, right? Like figuring out how to solve the issue. What we see on the certificates that there's always some complexity and there needs to be some sort of human sometimes in the loop to review. So figuring out that is something important.
Got you. And then I think, how about outbound calling for like non-payment or renewals? How are agencies using AI for that right now?
Yeah, that's a super interesting one. And that's the other side of the platform, right? Like I mentioned earlier, we are building a voice platform for insurance agencies. Outbound agents are the other side of it, which we typically see as people are get comfortable with the inbound. So inbound is the first thing folks do. And then we have our outbound calling platform, which is pretty robust in the way that it allows to trigger calls, not only based on dropping a list of people to call, but also based on major management system triggers, for example, policy expiration date or based on specific workflows that you want to call them at once in if something happens, right? Like if now they become a cancellation and you want to just trigger calls, right? So those are things that our platform allows, as well as the ability to run campaigns because it's not just one call. You want to keep trying to call them until you get all of them, right? And maybe sometimes they will call and they say, "Call me back tomorrow," right? Like you need to re-engage them. So we have that ability, and the same idea in terms of management system integrations. And what we see there is that renewals, policy reviews, calls are really great, not only because they increase retention, but because you are saving time on understanding what's changed on the policy, and you are also being able to potentially uncover bundling opportunities, more cross-selling. And then on the cancellations, it's really a way to add value to clients, in case, if the policy cancels and now they need to get a new policy at much higher premium. What we see there is that before, most agencies don't do cancellation calls because they're afraid of, because they cannot guarantee they call all the calls, all the cancellations. But now that you have AI doing it, you can guarantee that you'll call every single one of them, and you can deliver a much better service and on a time that, there's really a pressure on insurance agents to differentiate versus, like more, now you can buy insurance from ChatGPT, and there's all this conversation like the role of an insurance agent in advising, in having a differentiated service, differentiated relationship come from this type of interactions, right? Like helping make sure that your policy doesn't cancel and you need to get something worse, or explaining the risks there, like as we were talking about earlier on a claim, helping understand if this is a claim that is even worth to be doing with the care, right? That's the level of service that we see the best agencies being able to provide.
So how does it figure out, like, I know, like on some of the carriers we work with, we just get an email copy of the cancellation, right? Or non-payment. Um, how does the system's able to read the email traffic coming from Microsoft, or how does that work?
Yeah, so emails is one way we can trigger for phone calls.
Okay. So it can know, it knows from reading the data in the email there was a non-payment or cancellation due to non-payment. Okay.
Yeah, totally. Exactly.
And then when on renewals, um, so you're saying it's almost like it is like a two-way conversation about the policy renewal, with AI,
Yeah.
and our agencies putting in like, hey, we have this AI program that can review this with you, or if you need it, like to speak to us personally, press one, or I'll transfer you, or how does that work?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like to being able to explain there's an AI, being able to explain there's options, and yeah, if there's an opportunity to transfer.
So yeah, always kind of giving that client a choice so they don't feel trapped in this robot world, so to speak, right?
Yeah, and really, in the end of the day, you know, I understand there's an issue, like there's some fear, right? Like you call an agency and there's the robot. What's It's very important that agencies communicate their client bases. Is that behind that robot there's a person, right? Or a team. And the calls that that robot is having, they are being read by someone. So we had one of our clients that found one of their policyholders was you know um, saying bad things to the bot. She called them and we're like, "You don't think we're reading this?" Like, we're reading this. Like, so effectively, that's the reality we see. Like, it's a tool. It amplifies agencies, but in the end of the day, there's still and there will be you human agents, licensed staff, being able to have high quality conversations and being able to be there doing what insurance agents do the best. So that's not going to change. And yeah, AI is just a layer that folks have now.
Got you. And then as far as adoption goes, I know the management normally upper management is going to be very open to implementing it and getting it adopted. And then when you've got your, let's say, assistants or CSRs, as much as they try to tell them this is to make you more effective, are the agencies still having a little pushback occasionally, for adoption and usage of people just being resistant to the change and just, accepting it, or has it been not an issue? P&C agents, have you run into Byberg, which is a Berkshire Hathaway company quoting workers' comp for either your prospects or clients? Well, great news. Insured Solutions, a national MGA, has an appointment that is set up to allow you to quote, bind, and service Byberg at your agency. and the coverage is in all states. It's A-rated. Startups are even accepted. There's 125,000 maximum premium, and some of the tough industries they write are construction, transportation that includes towing and parcel delivery, manufacturing, security guards that are armed and unarmed, motor mediation, and many more. So go to our website at insuredsolutions.net, click the Get Appointed link. We'll get you logins for you and your team and can set up a webinar for training if you'd like. Also, feel free to email info@insuredsolutions.net and I can handle the submission myself, or call 770-402-5343. Be glad to speak to you and give you more detail. Thanks.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue. That's the main issue to adoption right now is you know is people fear. Um, you know, it's new technology, right? People don't know what they don't know. People have experiences, and it's also like a can be very visual, right? Like you can have it live, then you have one client that gets really mad at it, and then that makes you like just focus on that versus all the other calls, right? So on that standpoint, it's something very visual, and yeah, it's one of the main
So,
things.
have you had to kind of jump in to help in any of those issues of saying, giving the agency owners some advice on how to transition this properly with the staff and so
Yeah.
on?
Yeah, and that's what we focus a lot on the onboarding process on as well, is helping with that.
Got it. I mean, would you say there's a minimum size agency that's the right, I mean, the right fit for this, like from a
Yeah,
financial perspective, like what's the right size agency?
totally. So, I mean, the value we provide is directly proportional to the number of calls that we handle, right? So, if it's a scratch agency that doesn't have a book yet, they're not going to get many phone calls, you know. Maybe they could run a campaign and they'll get a lot of phone calls. But it's one-off, right? Like there's not really you know, an incoming, regular call volume. And then also if there's a component there of how staffed you are to handle those phone calls, right? Like if you are to staff, so it's more than the lowest size, right? Like it's more like what's the number of calls that you have to handle. And that's typically a couple employees, couple, if you count VAs, you can count VAs as well. Like that's where it starts being, I think.
Two employees. So you're saying a scratch
Yeah,
agency.
even more, like 5, 10 employees. But it depends. Like we have, it depends really. It's more based on like, are the number of calls you have a pain or not? That's really the main thing.
Was there a range of calls you look for your to
Yeah,
as a
I
minimum
think
per month or something?
20 really on the low end, 20 a day.
20 a day. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not really right for the scratch agency. They should wait until they get that kind of volume to engage someone like
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. 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 Um,
Do you
until
charge by the number of calls or how does it work?
we charge a flat fee per agency, and then we have like different models depending on, how much integration depth, how much features we are bringing, and also in terms of support levels.
Got it. Um, and then anything on the horizon that's coming? By the way, are you private equity backed? I forgot to ask. You
No, we are VC backed.
VC backed? Okay. Um, so what's their next progression then? Is it going to go public or buy or organic growth? Everything?
Say it again.
Your initial or immediate or long-term goals, I guess, for the company. Is it to maybe go public or to buy other firms or just continue to grow organically? What's your goal?
Yeah, so really, really, the we have a huge, you know, plan in front of us in terms of like problem to solve, right? So we really want to focus on deliver that vision to enable insurance brokers to protect the world. And I mean, to be able to do that, you need to, you deliver that vision. You are by nature a public and, company candidate, right? Um, so, that's a path that makes all the sense to us. We just wanted to be able to be a reliable, trusted partner for agencies in AI and be here for the long term. And public is, being a public company is an option to do that. But, in this space, um, I mean, yeah, most companies are still private, so maybe there's a way to do that in a private
Right.
stage as well. So, yeah.
And then anything newer coming in the horizon that you're kind of next generation with AI that you're excited about adding?
New what? Sorry.
Like sort of next generation in terms of what you can do with all these advances that are happening now, like with Claude Cowork and others, that are speeding up the model, in terms of at least assisting with the operational side, of things. Maybe not the voice as much, but they tools that can really quickly, do the behind the scenes work that are coming out. Like any thoughts on that in terms of adding that piece and how that's going to affect you and, what you're going to be adding to the system?
What I can say is that it's a really exciting time to be building because of all that action, right? And it's a really exciting time as well to have this vision. And there's just a lot like, that's on our roadmap. Right now, we're really focusing on the call workflows and calls that we can now to AI, but we're building uh, agents as well to help with calls that you really need to have a licensed person. Uh, so it's not going to be about having AI taking those phone calls. It's going to be about having AI helping folks around the work of those phone calls. So that's where we're really focusing on. And we're always looking into, splits. Yesterday we were at an insurance agency in person, spent the afternoon there. Like we're always close to our customers to try to understand where to go next.
Makes sense. And like, how far away would you say you are from the form filling aspect of filling out accords and COIs? Like, how many months or a year or whatever? Like, what do you guesstimate that when that'll be available?
Yeah, it's a matter of months, quarters. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, I know that's music to agents' ears, just because of all the paperwork we still have to do on the accords and gathering data, on new prospects, especially and maybe at renewal time to update that information,
Yeah.
well. So
Yeah.
that'll be pretty exciting stuff. So I guess Francisco, what if anybody will have more questions or wants to set up a demo or just talk to you, what's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, the best way to reach me personally is my email, francisco@sonant.ai, or on LinkedIn. Really, LinkedIn may be the best with a message. And then to learn more about our company, to get a demo, is to go to our website, Sonant, this site actually, .ai, and
That's SONANT.ai, and then Francisco Lopez on LinkedIn, Francisco Lopez
yes.
on Lopez on LinkedIn, and Sonnet.ai for the demo and or
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah, on LinkedIn, I actually add my middle name there, so it will be Francisco João, Joao, and then the last name Lopez. Yeah, and really on our website, book a demo, and that's the best way to have a deep dive on the product.
Got it. Well, no, it's exciting stuff, man. I'm glad to see this is coming around to the insurance side. Like I said, I've had really good success in certain areas. So when it works, I did have to call Amex. I lost my credit card. I actually left it at a restaurant, and then the restaurant closed. And I was leaving town, so I couldn't get it. So long story short, I was able to call Amex and through the AI system quickly just freeze the card, you know. So that model worked really well. you know? So when it works, it's awesome because I didn't have to wait and, hold and, try to reach a person, and it worked, right? So excited to kind of see where this all goes on the insurance side with what you're doing.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, thanks again. I appreciate you coming on.
Likewise. Thank you, Eric. Thank you for having me. Have a great one.
Absolutely.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks again for tuning in to Insurance Shop Talk. If you enjoyed our deep dive into the latest trends, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Until next time, I'm Eric Stein, and this has been Insurance Shop Talk.